Hey everyone, I'm going to showcase my upgraded Salmon Nigiri build. This one basically takes the first version and adds 3 nuclear power plants to it and makes some tweaks in order to improve the production rate. So I'm going to show you how this build is performing, what every building is making, and give you some more advice on how you could improve it even further. This design is doing about 321 Salmon Nigiri per hour, which is great, and yeah, it could go even higher. The reason this performs better is because there are 3 nuclear power plants that provide full passive energy to the wild net fishing and provide most of the energy required for the fishing platform. This saves both a lot of time and space, so I don't need all those wind turbines and oil pumps to manually make all the energy that was required for the salmon. There are 5 tree farms, 3 are on green craft timer, 2 are on yellow craft timer. You don't need wood in the end, this is just to gather the building materials. There are 6 rice fields, all on green craft timer. There are 30 seaweed farms. The second row here closest to the ocean, they all have 2 passive salty, and the third row, all of those have 1 passive salty. All the other ones don't have passive salty. So in total, 30 seaweed farms, 8 have 2 salty, so they craft seaweed in 10 seconds. 7 have 1 salty, so they craft seaweed in 20 seconds. And 15 have no salty, so they craft seaweed in 40 seconds. There are 8 shrimp farms. There are 16 wild net fishing. All of them have passive energy, and they still have a green craft timer, since nuclear power gives passive energy and does not cast dirty. There are 2 fishing platforms. The one on the north side is affected by 2 dirty because I put the 1 trade depot that is in this build next to it, and that is on purpose to slow down its production rate. I'll talk more about that later. And another fishing platform on the south side. This one is on green craft timer. Both of these have 4 out of the 6 passive energy that they need, so the fishermen do have to manually supply the 2 missing energy to those. There are 13 mixing tents, 8 of which are crafting white rice, and they all have the 1 passive energy that they need, and 5 of them are crafting fish chum. There are 5 sushi restaurants, 4 of which have full passive energy, and the 5th one right here has 2 out of the 3 energy, so it has to pick up 1 energy. For workers, there are 3 farm tractors, 1 logger, 2 forklifts, 16 seaweed farmer houses, 10 aquaculturists, and 8 fishermen houses. For storage, there are 2 silos, 2 storehouses, 2 warehouses, 2 seafood warehouses, 1 fuel storage, and 1 lumber yard. You have your standard gasoline setup with 2 power plants, 2 water pumps, a refinery in between those crafting gasoline, and a refinery to the side crafting petroleum. There are also 3 nuclear power, and they all have a water pump next to them. There are also 8 oil pumps for all the crude oil necessary to craft gasoline. There is also 1 well on a green craft timer, a lumber mill to craft lumber with, although you don't actually need this in the end, and 3 builder houses just to help you with building whatever you need to build. That's all the buildings. Now I'm going to talk about how you could possibly improve the build. Now you're probably wondering why I have the trade depot here. Like I said, it's on purpose. It casts 2 dirty on the fishing platform. That's to slow it down. You could run this on a green craft timer, but you might run into an issue that I was running into. That is that most of the fish chum and energy, which doesn't really matter, but the fish chum in particular, they are going to prioritize the fishing platforms, and as you know, the fishing platforms take up more fish chum. So if you run both of them on a green craft timer, you might actually have a lower production rate because you are consuming more fish chum to get salmon out of these. So you have to find the right balance, and one thing I would suggest here is, instead of having this on a green craft timer, maybe delete this builder house and make yourself another fishing platform. That one would be affected by 1 dirty because of the trade depot. That means it would craft at half the speed. So then you can mix and match and see what works the best. So you could turn this off and have this one on instead. It should consume more fish chum and then make you more salmon nigiri. You could possibly have both of them on. Maybe that would be the right balance. Yeah, you would have to mess with it and figure out the right balance. If you can get more than 320 salmon nigiri doing just that, then you've figured it out. If you are making less than 320 salmon nigiri, you are using too much fish chum on these fishing platforms. So that's one of the balances you have to figure out if you want a higher production rate. All I can really tell you right now is that it's actually overproducing fish chum. I'm not using all of it. and I didn't spend as much time trying to find that perfect balance. But you can build another one, just figure it out, and maybe you get an extra 5 or 10 salmon nigiri. If you can figure it out, then perfect. But yeah, I just didn't bother testing that out, so I just wanted to give you the advice so you can test it out yourself. Auto sell is almost the same as my original design. The only notable changes are that I reduced shrimp to 14, increased fish chump to 14, and removed gasoline from auto sell. This is what the build looks like on the visualizer, so you can see it costs a little over 51 million cash to build. However, keep in mind that you have to spend money to get to ice blocks and also to collect iron and steel. So you're looking at probably around or over 60 million cash to completely finish this build design. Wages are at 33,480 per minute. Just like the last design, I have ideas for Salt Rush and then Rice Rush, and this was the original design finish with no nuclear power plants. Now I have 2 ideas right here. If you haven't collected iron and steel and you finish the design, then here's an idea you can use to build shallow mines and a steel mill and slowly collect iron and steel while you're still making money selling salmon nigiri. Then you'll get to your first nuclear power plant and you can get rid of some of your wind turbines, but you'll still need most of them to craft the energy that you need. At this point, your production rate for salmon nigiri will probably go down, but you'll continue to get iron and steel required for the other 2 nuclear power plants, and in the end you can build it all out. You can find the file for this visualizer on my Discord if you need an invite. Link is in the description of the video. Here's what my production monitor looks like. Keep in mind that it's kind of hard to figure out the exact rate because I'm using both wild net fishing and fishing platforms, but you can see that the fish chum is at 400 per hour and it's still overproducing. Also, I have iron and steel on my warehouse. I don't actually need those. While I was in the process of gathering them, I just decided to gather 20 steel and 20 iron just in case, but I only needed 15 steel and 15 iron for the 3 nuclear power. But it never hurts to have a little bit of extra in case you make a mistake, so that's why I have extra. That's all for the upgraded build showcase, so hopefully this gives you an idea on how you could have improved your salmon nigiri design. If you found this helpful or informative, feel free to leave a like, leave a comment if you have any questions or feedback, and consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. If you want to help support the channel, you can find links in the description of the video. As always, I appreciate your support, and thank you for watching.